Aitah for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore. To 72F, 21F, live in a two-bedroom flat with my roommate, 22F. We've lived together for a little over a year and mostly things have been fine. We split rent and bills evenly and we're friendly, though not super close. We respect each other's space and it's been good up until recently. About 6 months ago, she started dating this guy, 24 meters. He was around once or twice a week at first, but now he's here constantly. Literally sleeps over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes full weeks in a row. He's not on the lease. Doesn't pay rent. Doesn't bring shopping. Doesn't help with anything at all. Nothing. I've never said much because I get it. It's her boyfriend. And I didn't want to start drama. But what's been bothering me lately is the shower thing. He showers all of the time, like twice a day minimum, sometimes more, and every single time he uses my stuff. My shampoo, conditioner, face wash, razor, deodorant. Yes, I noticed. I didn't even say anything the first few times because I thought maybe she let him borrow something once. But this is just ongoing now. I've moved all my things into my room and carry them back and forth like I'm at a camp or something. I brought it up to my roommate a while ago and she just went, he probably didn't realize and didn't do anything about it. Last week, I finally said something more direct and told her I wasn't comfortable with him showering here constantly, especially since he doesn't live here, doesn't contribute anything, and uses my stuff. I told her I'd feel different if he at least bought his own stuff or chipped in somehow. She got super annoyed and said he doesn't have any money right now, so it's not like he can buy his own things, and that I was being cold and controlling. She told me I was overreacting and that it's just hygiene. I snapped and said, it's not about hygiene, it's about boundaries and respect. For what it's worth, I wouldn't have even minded grabbing him some basics if she just asked, but she didn't, and neither did he. They just assumed I'd be fine with it. And honestly, I don't even really like him. He's not awful, just kinda moochy and not self-aware at all. So, maybe I'm being harsh because I already find him annoying? Now my roommate's barely speaking to me and told one of our mutual friends that I'm being weirdly territorial and passive-aggressive over a guy taking a quick shower. I don't know. Part of me feels bad because he is broke and maybe I'm being too harsh. But I also feel like I'm being walked over in my own home. I just need unbiased advice. I told her flat out that it's been months now of him basically living here, eating, showering, lounging around, sleeping over 5 to 6 nights a week, and it's crossing the line. She just kinda blinked at me and said I was being heartless. Literally said those exact words, saying I had no compassion for her relationship or for him, or the fact he had barely any money and needed somewhere to stay most days and needed food, etc. She accused me of being dramatic and of caring more about shampoo than a person who means the world to her. And I just snapped. I told her this is not about shampoo. It's about the fact that her boyfriend, who doesn't pay rent, doesn't contribute to bills and isn't even on the lease, has been using all of my personal stuff for months without asking. Like literally never asked, not once, and neither did she. He just started helping himself to my shampoo, my conditioner, my razor, my face wash, and my deodorant like I'm running a free hotel and he's a guest. And the worst part is he barely even talks to me. This man's been living in my space for months and I swear we've had maybe 2 conversations ever. Half the time he doesn't even say hi when he walks in the door and just walks straight past me like I'm invisible and hops in the shower with my products like it's no big deal. I can't believe I have put up with it for this long. I told her if either of them had asked even just once, I probably would have been chill about it. Like, yeah, he's broke. I get it, because times are hard. I would have even offered to grab him a few basics if he was short on cash, but no one said anything. They just silently decided it was okay for him to mooch off of me and my stuff and my space without so much as a conversation like, I don't get a say in any of this. She got super defensive, like arms crossed and full of attitude, and said something like, well, he's my boyfriend and I'm allowed to have him over. It's my home too. And I said, yeah, you are allowed to have him over, but let's not pretend like he's just here sometimes. He's always here. He's been here more nights than not for the past few months, and when he's not sleeping over, he's still around. He's basically moved in without actually moving in. And if he's gonna act like he lives here, then he needs to contribute like he lives here. She just rolled her eyes and said, and I quote, get used to it. He's my boyfriend. And as I said before, he has barely any money so wouldn't be able to contribute anything. And that was it for me. I've been so patient. I've tried to be understanding. I've given them the benefit of the doubt over and over again. But at this point, I feel completely disrespected and walked over in my own home. I've realized I'm not overreacting. I'm reacting to months of not being heard and being treated like I don't matter. I'm calling our landlord tomorrow morning. I'm going to explain that this guy has effectively moved in. He's been staying here for weeks on end, using the amenities, taking up space, and not paying a single penny toward rent or bills. And if he's going to keep staying here, he needs to start paying his share. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of a third person in this flat just because my roommate's in a relationship. She made it clear she's not going to do anything about it, so now I have to. So, like I said I would, this morning I spoke to my landlord. I was so anxious before calling because I didn't want it to feel like I was like tattling or trying to blow things up, but I also knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up quickly and was actually really calm and professional about everything. I explained the situation as clearly and fairly as I could and told him that my roommate's boyfriend has been staying over 5-6 nights a week, sometimes more, using all of our utilities, taking over our shared space, and even using my personal things like it's all free, despite not paying a single penny toward rent or bills or even any shopping. The landlord paused for a moment and then told me that it wasn't okay. He told me that technically under the lease, guests are allowed for short stays like the occasional overnight or weekend, but then said that's very different from someone else effectively living in the flat, and that if someone is staying over more than a couple nights a week on a consistent basis, that counts as an unofficial tenant. He said that if my roommate wants him there full time, he needs to be added to the lease and start contributing to rent and bills immediately. Otherwise, He said her boyfriend will have to seriously cut back on how often he's staying over, and if my roommate refuses to cooperate or tries to keep things as they are, it could result in her being in breach of the lease agreement. He said she could face consequences, including possible eviction if this continues without resolution. That honestly shook me a little, but also validated that I'm not overreacting. A few hours ago, at around 5 p.m., her boyfriend showed up again. As he came in and went to walk past me like usual, I stopped him and said I needed to talk to him. He looked caught off guard and kinda gave me that fake confused, about what, expression, but I stood firm and said I just needed to clear the air. I told him I'd noticed he's been staying here constantly and using all my stuff such as my shampoo, my face wash, my razor, and yes, I got a new razor the same day I noticed he was using mine, deodorant, all of it without ever asking. I said I was really uncomfortable with it, especially since he's not on the lease or contributing anything. That's when he got defensive. He didn't yell or anything, but his tone immediately turned snappy and kind of guilt-trippy. He said something like that he was sorry he didn't have somewhere else to go right now and that he was in a deep place. He then said that he wasn't trying to make my life hard and that he was just trying to survive. Then he launched into this whole monologue about how he's unemployed, struggling with his mental health, that his family all cut him off, he can barely afford food, let alone shampoo, and how my attitude is just another example of people turning their backs on someone who's already at rock bottom. He even asked if I think he wants to be in this position, or if I think he feels good about the way he lives. Like I was supposed to feel guilty for bringing it up. I stayed calm and told him that I wasn't trying to kick him whilst he's down, and that if he had just asked me I probably would have said yes and I might have even bought him some basics. But he didn't ask and he just started helping himself, like it was owed to him. He didn't really have a response to that, other than shrugging and muttering that he didn't think it was a big deal and that my roommate told him it was fine. I said it is a big deal to me. This is my home too, and he has been treating it like a free house that he's allowed to live in, and that's not sustainable anymore. I told him my landlord's going to get involved now and things will have to change. Either he gets added to the lease and starts paying his share, or he stops staying over all the time, and if neither, my roommate could end up being evicted. He got quiet after that, gave me some annoyed half apology and went into a room. Honestly, I think he was more embarrassed than anything, but I'm not backing down now because I've done my part and I've been patient. I've communicated like an adult, so what happens next is on them. No word yet from my roommate after her convo with the landlord, which I assume happened as my landlord doesn't usually say stuff and not follow through with it, and she still hasn't come back home, which leads me to the belief that she's furious. That said, I'm done prioritizing her comfort over my own peace of mind, as I've been more than fair. I will update again when my roommate says anything to me. Also, I've officially locked my shower stuff away and the snacks that I had previously bought, which were my snacks I bought with my money. I went to Argos this morning and got one of those little lockable storage boxes and slid it under my bed as some of you suggested. I made a very unique 4-digit code for it too, so hopefully my roommate's boyfriend doesn't go to the extreme of trying to open and snoop through a locked box. My roommate came home about an hour ago, just before 12 p.m., and it was obvious from the second she walked through the door that she was furious. She slammed the front door shut, slammed her keys a little too hard onto the side table, and threw her bag down. I was in the living room at the time, and the energy shift was instant. I waited a moment, then came out from the living room, said hello, and asked as gently as I could if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away and just stood there with her jaw clenched before blurting out that she couldn't believe I actually called our landlord, and then asked me why I was being so dramatic. I stayed calm and said that I had already told her I was going to if nothing changed and that I didn't go behind her back. She gave this bitter laugh and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, well now, thanks to that, our landlord told me in no uncertain terms that boyfriend's name is not allowed to stay more than 2 nights a week anymore unless he starts paying rent." She was absolutely livid. She asked me if I even understood what that meant, and then said he literally has nowhere else to go right now and he's been staying here because he doesn't have a home, not because they were trying to take advantage of me or something. She kept telling me he was struggling and would have no money to pay rent or bills, and now what? Is he supposed to just wander around in the cold at night and freeze to death while you and I, quote, sleep soundly knowing your shampoo's safe and sound? That last line was so sarcastic it would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating and guilt-tripping. I took a deep breath and said that it was not about the shampoo. It was about how he's been here constantly, like literally living here without ever being asked to contribute anything, and literally had barely even acknowledged me, ever. I mentioned that I tried to talk to her about it twice and she blew it off both times. What else was I supposed to do? She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the most cold-hearted person alive. She told me he was her boyfriend, and of course she would want him here. That he's going through so much and now I've made it so he feels completely unwelcome. She told me his family just cut him off one day with no reason and all of his friends stopped talking to him too and apparently treated him awfully, which in my opinion seems ironic, but maybe that's just me, lol. Apparently he called her after I confronted him earlier and told her he's going to stay at a friend's place tonight, and he sounded like he was about to cry before he hung up the phone. Then said this was just another example of people not giving a F times CK about him when he needs it most. I literally didn't even hear him leave, so he must have crept out, lol. I could feel the guilt tripping in every word. But honestly, I've reached the point where I'm done letting it work on me. I said that I was sorry he's going through a rough time, but this is my home too. I pay rent, I pay bills, I keep this place going just like she does. I'm not an extra in her relationship. She brought someone into this space without asking, let him treat it like it's his, and didn't lift a finger when it started affecting me. That's not okay. She went quiet at that, still clearly annoyed, but with nothing left to say that wouldn't sound like more of the same. After a few seconds, she just said, "I hope you're happy," and walked off into her room, slamming the door behind her. I'm not happy. I didn't want it to come to this. But I'm also not sorry. I've been way more patient than I should have been, and I've tried to handle this like an adult. I don't think her boyfriend feeling unwelcome is because I'm cruel. It's because they've both acted like the rules don't apply to them, and that's not my fault. So, it's been tense but quiet since my last post. My roommate has barely spoken to me, and things have mostly been awkward silence or heavy sighs. I've kept my boundaries up and stayed polite, but we both clearly needed space. Yesterday, my roommate and her boyfriend, yes, he was over, to collect something of his, had a huge argument. I wasn't eavesdropping, but it was loud enough that I couldn't not hear it, as our walls are thin and they were yelling. He was accusing her of being a bad girlfriend for not sticking up for him when I talked to our landlord. Or sticking up for him when I raised an issue, which she did. LOL. He actually said that she let me humiliate him and that she didn't even defend him and said I have made him look pathetic. He went full guilt trip, saying she betrayed him and that real partners are supposed to protect each other. He said he felt humiliated, abandoned, and that she clearly didn't care about him at all. It was like watching someone weaponize hurt feelings just to control his narrative. She was crying and trying to explain, but he kept cutting her off, and then suddenly, boom, he slammed the door and stormed out. She followed shortly after. I thought that was probably the end of the drama for the night. I genuinely felt bad for her in that moment. But then at like 2 a.m. this morning, she came stumbling and tipsy and immediately started shouting at me. She slurred something about me just being jealous and mad because I don't have a boyfriend. I literally couldn't be further from being jealous of her and her boyfriend, as he seems to be so cruel and guilt-tripping towards her. Then she said it's because I can't stand seeing her happy, so I ruin it for her. Then she called me bitter, pathetic, and said I was sabotaging her relationship because I'm lonely. I didn't even say anything and I just sat there stunned. She then stomped off to her room and passed out cold. This morning I woke up to find her sitting at the kitchen table looking rough. She was hungover and clearly very low. She mumbled something about how she doesn't know what to think anymore and then said she thinks that her boyfriend is only with her for her money. I was genuinely trying to be kind, as I felt bad for her, and it must be a tough situation to be in. I told her I was sorry she felt like that, and that she deserves better if that's how she's feeling. I thought we were having a real moment, but then she looked me dead in the eye and said literally, and I quote, "This is your fault." My jaw dropped. I literally said, "Excuse me?" And she repeated it. She said if I hadn't blown everything out of proportion and gone to our landlord, none of this would have happened, and her boyfriend wouldn't be angry with her, and then said I ruined everything. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't fair. I've been nothing but fair, and I've tried so hard to set boundaries respectfully. Communicate like an adult and not cause drama. I've gone out of my way to make this place livable and still got blamed for everything. And now I'm being guilt-tripped because her boyfriend treats the flat like a free hotel and she's too far gone to see it. Which brings me to the next part of this post. Our lease is up for renewal on August 1st. Our landlord emailed us both yesterday with a standard renewal reminder and asked us to let him know by July 1st if we're planning to stay, so he has time to prep the paperwork or start listing the flat. I've thought long and hard about this, and I have come to the conclusion that I don't want to live with her anymore. Even if her boyfriend disappears tomorrow, the trust and respect is gone, and the ability to feel comfortable in my own home is hanging by a thread. I won't be renewing my half. Whether I find a new place alone or with someone else, I'm not staying here. I haven't told her yet because I'm not in the mood to get screamed at again, but I'll be giving proper notice soon and reaching out to our landlord to clarify the process. I'll do it properly and respectfully, but I know that I will no longer live here. I've mentally committed, and this weekend I'm going to start the flat house share search. I'm equal parts nervous and excited. Nervous because I'm in a very good location right now and the rent isn't cheap but reasonable for what it is. I know I might not get quite as lucky again, especially solo, but I'd rather pay a little more than keep sacrificing my sanity, lol. I'm still sad that it came to this because this flat could have been a dream, but I know I'm making the right decision. I deserve a space that feels like mine, or at least one I'm not constantly being pushed out of emotionally. So yeah, wish me luck, and if anyone knows of a spare room in a chill flat with non-toxic housemates and boundaries that are respected, feel free to manifest it into the universe for me, hahaha. Her boyfriend has still been around, despite what was said, not as much as before because they're definitely trying to keep it under the radar now that the landlord's aware. She's clearly choosing to keep him in her life, and that's her decision, but I can't pretend it doesn't suck to come home and feel that tension in the air every day. To be fair, he hasn't touched any of my stuff since the confrontation. Probably out of shame or fear, I'll report him again, but the atmosphere hasn't improved. She still looks at me like I'm the villain in her love story, and I'm honestly just so tired of being cast in that role. Now, here's where things improve. After I gave notice to my landlord that I wouldn't be renewing the lease, he asked if I was planning on staying in the area, and I said yes. I've been flat hunting nonstop online, spare room mostly though it's a bloodbath, but nothing quite felt right. A few days after my last post, I was reading through the comments, which again, thank you for. You Redditors are wiser than most real-life advice I've had, and a few people suggested I ask the landlord if there were any other units available in the same building. I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest. I assumed everything around here was taken, but I figured I had nothing to lose by asking. So I emailed him just casually, saying that before I committed to moving out of the building entirely, I wanted to check if there were any other units becoming available around the same time. He replied the next day saying that one of the flats just upstairs, literally one floor above us, was going to be vacant from mid-July. Same layout, same rent, same everything, but slightly newer kitchen fittings and a nicer view, less bin alley and more rooftops. He even offered me a first viewing since I was a current tenant and had always paid rent on time. I was honestly stunned. Same building, same landlord, same floor plan, and no drama roommate, sig me up. I viewed the new unit last week. It's still a 2-bedroom. It's still a no. Which works perfectly because my friend, 23F, who I've known since 6th form and who's been looking to move out of her current house share, is looking to move around the same time. We had a little catch-up to talk about it and realized our timelines lined up almost perfectly. She came to view it with me the second time around and loved it. We signed the lease together this past Wednesday and we officially get the keys on July 17th. Now here's the cherry on top. My current roommate isn't renewing her lease either. Apparently, after all the landlord stuff happened, she decided she doesn't want to stay in the building anymore. I'm guessing she doesn't want to be under the same roof as me, or the landlord who now knows about her boyfriend's extended stays. She mentioned in passing, very passive-aggressively, that she's moving somewhere with fewer rules, whatever that means. So as it stands, she's moving out. I'm moving into a new unit, 1 floor up, and will no longer be flatmates. I haven't told her where I'm moving yet. I didn't lie, but I also didn't feel like I owed her explanation, you know? When she asked if I'd found anywhere yet, I just said that I've sorted it with the landlord and left it at that. If she finds out I'm literally upstairs, that would be slightly awkward. Just to paint a realistic picture for anyone reading who's UK-based or curious, here's how the process is going down. I formally gave my 30-day notice in writing to the landlord as soon as I decided not to renew. He accepted it and noted that my tenancy ends on July 31st. The landlord already knows me, obviously, and I've paid rent on time for over a year, so getting the new lease was smooth. No agency faff this time, which I'm so grateful for. It was just a standard credit check and ID confirmation. Because it's the same landlord and he uses a registered deposit scheme, he's allowing the deposit from this unit to be rolled over into the new flat pending an inspection of this one. So if I leave this place in good condition, I won't have to cough up another full deposit. Lifesaver. We're getting the keys to the new flat on July 17th, even though this lease ends on the 31st. That gives me 2 full weeks of overlap to move gradually, clean, and avoid a stress meltdown. My dad even offered to drive up with his car to help with the heavier stuff. Hero. My friend's lease ends around the same time, so we'll be moving in together over the same weekend. I've already sorted my council tax and utilities with the landlord. He'll notify the local council, and we just need to set up the new water, electric, internet accounts from the 17th. We'll split it 50/50 just like I always hoped I could. Honestly, I feel so thankful. Knowing I won't have to be in a flat where I'm constantly tiptoeing around a very moody roommate and her, as you say, homosexual boyfriend is such a relief. I'm very excited to decorate a new space and set new boundaries from day one. Me and my friend already talked openly about how we want to divide shared costs. Groceries will be our own, cleaning rota, guests can stay but within reason, etc., and it feels normal. I could actually cry at the idea of normal. So now I'm prepping for the move. Starting to box up non-essentials. Deep cleaning little bits each day and honestly enjoying the idea of creating a new space from scratch. I've started making Pinterest boards for our new living room and my bedroom. I wanted to give you all a proper final update because so many of you followed along and supported me through what was one of the most stressful periods of my life. Life is so much better now. I moved into the new flat upstairs with my friend back in July, and it has been nothing short of amazing. It is really such a breath of fresh air. We actually talk things through, respect each other's space, split bills on time, and most importantly, clean up after ourselves. We set boundaries right from day one, and we have fully stuck to them and not argued once about anything. Onto the probably inevitable question, what happened to my old roommate and her boyfriend? They didn't last long after my last post. I found out through a mutual friend that they officially broke up not too long ago, like a month or 2 ago. Apparently things got really toxic between them, well, more than it already was. But he got arrested. Him and many others were caught doing a lot of cocaine supplying. Lol, like really a lot of it. When I heard, I didn't know what to say at all because I was shocked but also not surprised, if that makes sense. As for my old roommate, she's moved out of the area completely. I don't know where exactly and I haven't asked. After she left, she blocked me on Instagram and only Instagram, which is weird, lol.